show that tackles the big issues affecting the BVI and the rest of the Caribbean. Searches for answers to today's big questions and gives viewers a unique perspective on developing stories. Follow the big story with me, Kathy Richards, only on GTV. This show is brought to you by the National Bank of the Virgin Islands, Cyril B. Ramney Tertola Pier Park, NV Salon Spa Nail and Barbershop, HOV Medical, and Digicel. Sign up for Digicel Plus Home Light Bundles, faster internet, movies, and sports. This is The Big Story. I'm Kathy Richards. I want to thank you so much for joining us for this edition. In studio with me are two pastors. Yes, Kathy flanked by two pastors, two old young pastors. Joe Von Klein and Dr. Michael Turnbull. And I'm so happy that we are here this morning to have this discussion. It's one that we were trying to have before the youth forum that you would have had there just last weekend it was.
Yeah.
And we're here now, which could be in a blessing because of what we really want to tap into. But before we get it, how are these two youth men doing?
I'm doing okay today. You know, today is a good day. Grateful for life. And as we're here, I'd like to talk about youth empowerment and what we learned. You know, Pastor Jovan did an amazing job with this initiative, with this parent-child conversation, to have an open, non-judgmental conversation to learn a lot. And the things that we learn are things that we could transfer to our community. So hopefully that we could share some things this morning, today, that will be able to be helpful.
Nice. How about you?
I'm good. I'm good. You know, every day is a blessing, whether it be a cloudy day or sunny day, all that good stuff. But I'm happy to be here, happy to share this conversation with you and Dr. Mike. Dr. Mike gave me credit for the initiative, but something I really envy him for is the ability to find a good thing and invest and really make it grow. So he saw or recognized what we were doing, and you know, he jumped on board. And what we experienced the other night at the King Adamy Baptist Church was an amazing time with young people and the parents and adults that showed up to be a part of it.
You know what I found very interesting with that? The fact that, you know, we often say parents have conversations with your children. You tell the young people, have conversations with your parent. But when they are in our home setting, sometimes it can be so challenging knowing the strategies of how to break a certain conversation. And sessions like these, I think, gives them that channel to say things that, you know, they really can't open up to, find the strength or courage to open up to with their parents while in the home setting, or if they're confronted at school or in any other social setting. Let's talk. Tell us what happened.
You know, the thing is, as you talk about the young people being able to build up the confidence to speak to their parents, we saw especially that night that it's the same on both sides. A lot of the parents are wondering how to approach their kids. You know, something that's very important to keep in mind and to be aware of. And I say this for the parents, and I say this for the young people. Adults don't always know. Parents don't always know, and there are a lot of questions that they have about how do I help, how do I say, how do I approach. One of the questions asked as so simply but still profound: why does my child just go into their room to play their games instead of coming outside to talk with me? You know, so they have these questions too, and they don't know if they need to do something to make a change or find a way to accept how their child is. You know, so it really opens up that great opportunity.
Yeah. And that question opened up to understanding, Kathy, the importance for parents and youth to have mutual understanding and mutual empathy. You know, sometimes in the Caribbean we emphasize respect, 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 and respect is important. But as your child becomes in the teenage years, you're needed to start to transition that relationship into a relationship where there's mutual understanding, mutual empathy, coupled with respect, and as your child will want freedom. Because when that answer was said to the young people, they said sometimes we've had a hard day at school, we're stressed out, and we just need some time to just relax and detox. And when you think about it, us as adults, we want the same thing.
Yep.
So it's talking to your family of how that works, how it looks, and it being effective, and what time limit that you have. Because if you're in there for 2-3 hours, that is not downtime. You're excluding yourself. Half an hour, 45 minutes, and then you are interacting. Then you homework, school, chores, and family conversation. Those things became very important. So the mutual understanding, any relationship that's going to grow, grows from empathy and mutual understanding between two parties, regardless if it's a parent-child relationship. That dynamic changes because, as we told the parents, it is not a guarantee based on how you raise your children, based on how that relationship is, that you're going to have an adult child that wants to have a relationship with you, and vice versa. I told the children realize that their parents have an option that when they get to a certain age that they could cut them off as well. And that is not a healthy society. That is not the kind of community that we're trying to build here in the Virgin Islands. So we really need to address these things, these difficult conversations, and it needs to be mirrored not only in our homes, in our churches, but in our community, and even how we treat and talk to each other on the highest levels of office as well.
Nice, nice. You know, what came to mind there is, sometimes we as parents think we are doing the best for our kids, and in so many cases we are very, very selfish. I don't recall hearing a parent say, okay, my child needs a break after so many months of school. I often hear us saying, I need a break. Caring for the family, I need a vacation. I even need a break away a little bit from my husband or my wife or my spouse. But we don't hear us referring to it a lot for the kids. And that's a check.
Yeah, I mean, there are some children in our communities now that school is opened up that are up at 5:30, 5:15 every day.
Yes.
So those 2 months that they get off, it's a break for them. I mean, that's not easy, doing that every day, getting up. And some of the children who are parentalized, who parents have to go to work very early, they are responsible for all the chores, getting the younger brothers and siblings out. They have to make sure the food is ready and packed and get to school, and them get to school and then go to learn. It's a mutual understanding of young people. And Pastor Joe and I, we concentrate on young people because that's not just the impactful years that we had, but we see a generation in our community that is not living through their full potential, and there are things that we need to put in place to address this and have the hard conversations. People will say, "Oh, the church is not doing it." And that's not the reality. A lot of people are trying to do hard work, but it needs more people collectively understanding the overall vision and goal for the Virgin Islands. Where we going to go? What are we becoming?
This is home, yeah. And for the most part, it's been oftentimes said that, the more mature, older people do not understand the challenges young people face. And what I find very dynamic here, that you, especially when we talk about the church setting, you two are the senior pastors in your churches. You are relatively young, despite somebody's growing some...
a little bit of wisdom, right? A little bit of wisdom, but a forehead up here.
God is good. God is good.
How you are finding it? Listen, I didn't mean for this. How are you, Pastor Javon, finding it being a very, I think you're younger than I am.
Yes.
To be in that position and being able now to zero in with the young population, given the fact that, listen, hey, I'm here with you.
Pulling from where you started, with referencing the older population, not being able to understand or finding a challenge to understand what the younger generation is going through. don't think it's plainly an issue with understanding. I think a lot of it has to do with rejection. We have to come to terms with what progress looks like. That's something that we have to not only see but also accept. Because if we reference what Dr. Mike mentioned earlier, where, we have young people, again, during these school hours, they have to wake up at 5, they have to wake up, some people at 4:30, to start to get things going. You'll have some older people that say, well, that's nothing. I used to do that every day to shift the goats and, feed the pigs and so on and so forth. So I don't find any sympathy with that. If the moment we do that, we're not speaking towards progress. Because if we want to see progress, we need to know that it should look different for this new generation. We should know that it should affect them differently, and we shouldn't expect them to be able to handle things or go through the same things that, the older generation, when they were younger, had to go through. So we speak towards progress, but we don't really have in mind what progress should look like. So being in this position that we're in, first and foremost, we have to have an understanding of what progress looks like. So when things are developing and evolving, where to some people it might look like a fallout, to some people it might look like this new thing that might not work, with our understanding that progress looks different. Sometimes progress looks quiet, sometimes progress looks wild, sometimes progress looks like something we've never seen before. As long as we have in mind what that understanding is of what progress looks like, we can continue to go forward, continue to inspire, continue to encourage, and continue to lead people towards progress and not get caught up in what the past has been.
Yeah, and that progress is right before our eyes.
Yes.
If we are to be looking or want to accept that, progress is necessary, back then we went over to St. Thomas on a certain type of boat, and your parents and whoever had the, whatever you called it, we called it the Johnny cake, used to be the journey cake, that environment, and we used to be bartering. We're not doing that anymore.
No.
So that alone in itself speaks to a changed environment. So how can we want our people of today to be doing the very things that we did back then when it no longer exists? It calls now to recognize that progress and be able to adapt.
And if I can just say, because I could feel some people out there already, there is an importance to keeping our foundation intact. There's an importance to making sure that we don't lose ourselves culturally. But with that, we have to understand what things are foundational and what things were for the time. And there are some things, or rather, let me put it like this: understanding how to make a Johnny cake doesn't necessarily mean that a Johnny cake is the thing that your family and we should be eating for the rest of our lives, even when we realize that white flour isn't good for us and the oil isn't good for us and so on and so forth. It's the understanding of what that Johnny cake was for us and understanding how to keep that fundamental quality of the Johnny cake with whatever we develop next.
Wow.
Yeah. And like that becomes just so important, like in terms of us progressing, but progressing with values. I think in our community, like seeing it every day in our work as a psychologist, and Pastor Jovan was an experienced guidance counselor and mental health consultant, and so he worked in all these different avenues and still does it today, is that we see a gap between what the definition of progress is. And sometimes understanding that we have to be bridge builders. That was a theme for last month. Like bridge builders, like we don't need to be, as the older generation, need to be people that are stopping progress, but we are enabling it, that we're empowering it, that we're passing on not only material wealth, but institutional knowledge, so we can continue this version. Because everyone right now, as an older person, needs to be a mentor to someone else. And see, that mentorship allows the continuation of proper legacy. So you're not just passing on materialistic things that are going to depreciate, but you're passing on legacies and principles that stand the test of time. And that's what we're missing. In our broad scheme of our Virgin Islands, if you ask us, what's our national mandate for our young people? Where is it that we're going? What is our next 10, 15, 20-year plan? And it's very difficult to put in a small sentence, and the simple things from the text in the Bible says, like, if you write the vision, you make it plain, and you do it so the young men cannot utterly fall, because you want people to build a bridge so it could be easier. And that's what we need to do. Whatever you get to a point in your life, the reason to be impactful is to build something that could be passed on. My father, his father, and I, they were able and smart enough and trustworthy enough that we may not have all the experience. We may not know all the scriptures and everything like everybody else. We may look different. We may talk different.
We may
do things different. But the essentiality of purpose, understanding the mission, being able to do, that's the things that were passed on. And that's what we need to continue to pass on, is seeing that the younger person standing up on a pulpit or a podium or position in a job or succeeding you is not making you ineffective, but is the greatest gift that you can give to society. So how are we replicating ourselves? What are our transition plans? How are we making sure that our education system, our healthcare system, our finance system is allowing our young people to become better than we were? And that has to be the simple mandate for us in the Virgin Islands. Could be like, how do we allow our children to be better than us? Not in terms of access to materialistic things. And that's where we replace legacy with money
and wealth.
And those things could come and go. Most of the times when a child inherits a big fortune from their family, if they don't have the requisite skills, in less than one generation, that entire wealth is depleted. So it's important to pass on things that mostly matter, those things that don't cost you, but they cost you time, investment, being intentional.
Not so long ago, and I say not so long ago because it's still very fresh in my memory, when Kyra James Douglas had a forum for young people there in Slaney. I was present there, and the things that I was hearing, just sitting there and listening to them interact and talking about what matters for them, what they are not getting, what they're getting, put me in a position to internally repent a lot, wishing that, I could have been a little different in dealing with things, because at that stage all my kids are adults. I can't go back now to change in those, but it put me in a repentive stage, but also put me in a position to do all I can to make sure that our young people are heard in ways that they need to be heard, so that parents who probably do not have the know-how get some bit of help to do something a little different that benefits their kids. I am particularly interested in hearing what were the things that these young people were talking about to their parents, to the adults there, to you.
Yeah, I mean, some of the questions range from, why do you yell? Why do you say for us to do one thing and do the other? What is a great age to have a relationship? All the questions are my favorite questions, but one of the most impactful questions that they said, they asked their parents, if you could go back, what would you tell yourself now that you, as an adult, that you didn't know? And that was bridging the gap, like taking your time, being able to be wise, making sure great decisions. And it became practical things, and you saw that parents had questions. There's one question that children asked about, how can you help us with procrastination? And that was a breakthrough question, because the parents were able to answer and says, we struggle with procrastination as well. And you see now the young people were like, okay, you struggle, I struggle. So then we come to a mutual benefit by understanding, if you struggle, I struggle with this same thing, how can we get better? We put our heads together. And that's what we need to do, because the wisdom of the parents and the youthful exuberance of the youth will allow us to come to creative, sustainable solutions to help us live better. And that, the questions about dating are going to continue. The questions about when it was a good time for them to lose their virginity. When it's a good time to get married. These were tough questions.
It's some hard-hitting stuff. And there are a lot more questions that we did not get to in that session. So what we have created is a perpetual moment where we will continue to meet and add to the pool of questions and pull from that pool of questions. So early in the year, when we had the fourth session of the year, some of those questions, the one question, let me say that, really hit me the hardest from the teenagers to the parents. They asked, how does divorce affect adults? That's what those kids asked. How does divorce affect adults? So, you know, it really shows that not only are they looking, but they're trying to understand, and they're trying to analyze and see what's in their future, so they can understand, you know, their decision making and their habits a bit better, and also so they can find some point of compassion and empathy for their parents, because they see their parents going through this
selfish,
stuff. You know,
they care.
Right.
It matters to them.
And it's something important to know, and we saw it the other night as well. You know, we can't generalize with these kids. You know, we like to hit the stigmas of, you know, kids just want to play games, kids just want to do what they want to do, kids don't listen. And we saw even among the teenagers, one would stand up and say, well, you know, I just want to play my game because that's what I like to do, I like to free my mind. Another one would stand up and say, you know, well, video games aren't too good, so I don't think we should focus on that too much. One would stand up and say, well, you know, I don't answer the first time because, you know, I know you're going to keep on saying it, or you're far away so you're not hearing me. And another one would stand up and say, well, when my mom calls me, I go right away. So we have to, as we consider these kids, consider the fact that they're not all of the same composure. Consider the fact that, you know, where we see one form of habit, there's potential for a difference. And from there, we have to then not only consider what we want to do for them, but consider how we include them, consider how we're reaching them, consider how we are making them a part of this change that we want to see in them, knowing that they're not just another kid. We can't treat our kids like just another kid. We have to look at them as the individual, plan for them accordingly, and involve them relevantly based on who they are and what they want to do.
Involving them relevantly is key, because sometimes we tell ourselves that we're the parents, we are to do whatever we got to, what we think is best for them, without even consulting with them as to what is it they really want to do. Here is the plan that I'm thinking of. This is the benefits that I see. What do you think?
And that's that. I mean, the diversity of understanding. All of us are different. Parents, and from our cultural backgrounds and how we're raised, to children, to how they interact with the environment. And if you want to see this, you ask parents who have multiple kids. Each one of them are unique. And if you try to raise them all alike, you're going to be in for problems, because then you're shutting out who they truly are. So this conversation, we have to continue to have this conversation. You know, parents, just take that time and have a parent that they have a technique around when they're able to eat dinner. I mean, even if you're able to eat dinner around the table once a week, at least do it. Maybe we don't have the freedom because of world and all the things of life to sit down and eat dinner every day, but at least once a week.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be the movie style, lay out a whole long table. If our space is just a little area here, everybody could sit on the floor, sit on the chair.
It don't have to be a
together.
big. One of my favorite times was Friday when me and my brother were growing up. My father used to be on the radio station that he's still on now, and he used to come home. And when we used to hear the truck, we knew it was either panchi or jerk chicken. That's when I used to eat chicken. And we would sit down and watch Friday Night Wrestling, and my mom would walk by. She'll stay for a second. I mean, those are the things you remember, because if you think about all the gifts that you buy your kids, this instantaneous gratification, but that's not what they're going to remember. They're going to remember you playing with them with that gift. So that mutual time and carving out time is what we did. When Pastor Javon, I mean, miraculously came up with this, like it's an intentional, significant conversation. And what it did after the sessions is that you see the young people and the parents coming together and continue the conversation. So it gives a leeway for you to start and continue the conversation. So be intentional about the conversation. You can even start a conversation, listen, I'm afraid to ask you this because I don't know what you're going to say.
Exactly.
Instead of parents putting on this armor and being mad and then you become an interrogator rather than a parental figure. There's a balance between the discipline and the conversation, and you can have parameters for how we're able to do it and to moderate it, so you could get to no mutual understanding. So you understand why. And it just helps a lot.
Yeah, and there is this common talk when you talk about mutual understanding that came to mind that parents oftentimes say, they only got one man in this house and they only got one woman in this house.
And you know something. I just had an idea, and I'm gonna put us on the spot. I know we're very capable of making it happen. And this is why this show is called The Big Story.
Yes.
We could possibly partner on an initiative that helps parents continue these conversations going forward. So maybe we can start a series of, let's call it conversation cards, where parents, there's one card per month. You pull from the box, and it has a topic and a list of questions that you can go through with your child in that month for the year. And each year we can release a new series.
And you provide an environment for feedback.
Yeah, this is fresh. This is new.
So that's something that my wife does at home. So she and my daughter, they created a mailbox. They made it out of cardboard board. And if my daughter has a question that she doesn't want to ask us, she puts it in cardboard, and they'll put the flag up, and we'll know there's a question in there. We pull it out, and have to look at this question, so that and bringing that nationally will be amazing.
Wow, you see.
So that's
you didn't know about it before.
And that's something that parents can do even now before we bring a national stage. Just create a box. You could put it in there, and you could put answers. So it creates that fair. You take that fair aspect away. And I say, parents, when the children, regardless of what they ask, try not to become angry, judgmental, because if you approach it wrong, that will be the last one you'll ever ask.
Absolutely. And I would love at the end of the response from either parent or child to see, can we talk? Can we talk about this? Great conversation. So much more that we can be talking here. But I want you individually, because we're under the tyranny of the clock. I know we're going to be back here. I love these conversations because of the impact it has on lives, and we need to keep it going. If we are true about what we say, we want to see a better tomorrow. We want to see a better younger population. We want to see a better Virgin Islands. We want to see a better Caribbean. And we want to see a better world. These conversations are necessary. What is it that you would love to say in this moment to parents, to young people, and even to our seniors who are rock back there now? All right.
What I'd simply say is reapproach consideration. However you feel like you've already been considerate, whatever extent of consideration you feel like you've already been showing, revisit it, review it, revalue it, and approach again. Find a new angle, find a new extent, find a new approach, find a new way to relate, and really take time to see if not only you are being considerate, but if that person feels considered. And I'm talking both to the young and to the older. We both have a responsibility with how we live together, how we walk together, how we grow together. We both have roles, but those roles, neither of them exclude the fact that we have to continuously be considerate of where each other are, where we are, as we go forward.
Yeah, and I mean, that doesn't need anything added. I would just concentrate on mutual empathy to understand that parenting is the hardest job in the world. And raising children in this new environment, this interconnected world, is not easy. So the insecurities that you have, the questions that you may have, if you're not able to ask a friend without judgment, research it, read books, ask someone who you trust to navigate the difficulties, the things that you may be navigating, your child coming home pregnant, your child using drugs, your child not getting the best grades. It doesn't make you a bad parent. It just makes you a parent who's dealing with a difficult situation. And that child, if you stick with them, love them, nurture them, and put the right parameters, and you get everyone on the same page, could become what you could least imagine, that they could become amazing and they become a trendsetter. So we want us to continue to build this conversation that Pastor Jovan and New Life started, and that we were so graciously able to continue. And they're going to have one next early next year. Let's make sure that we come out. It's not just a church thing, and these conversations help build community.
Yes.
Help build community. And Kathy, before we end, seeing that we're here, something very important.
Got me a little bit nervous there a bit.
I think
We are 3 months away from Christmas.
Okay.
And last year, you filmed a
Oh.
carol. I would say that we both won. One won for caroling and one won for choir.
I don't think
One
that's-
second, sir.
Do
Do I need to come in there as a referee
let's
right
not,
now?
I don't think.
It's going to happen again. It's going to happen again. And, as the older amongst the two, we're going to continue to bridge the gap. So we're going to make sure we provide the words for the songs early on, so there's no reading of the phones and the scripts. We're going to make sure dividing line between who's actually participating and the peanut gallery. And we're going to continue from there. And also, unfortunately, there was a young man judging, and we found out that he had a hearing problem.
Wow.
So,
All right, time out.
all right. Well, that's it. That's it for the big story. Thank you to everyone
Go back and
watching.
watch it.
Thank you everyone
You'll
for
see.
watching. There's
All right.
no need for no other comments.
Have you gotten any applications for the
Can I
choir?
keep control of my show right now?
Sorry. But that is about, in all fairness, Pastor
Yes,
Javon and I
community,
talked
yeah.
about us building community, building a culture that was existing from before and bringing it together. And we all had fun. It was intentional.
Yes.
And we're going to continue to do it.
Yeah,
To
so
bring
we love-
community.
we
See how we all smile and laugh?
No, it's really great. And let me just say, everyone who wants to be a part, please join the King Academy Baptist Church. They need your help. It was
Look
tough.
at look at-
This, no. We're going to be back on this. We're going to be back there. I must bring this to order in my room.
Yes.
But we look forward to that. That was so healthy. I think I would have gone it over like 2 or 3 times after, I think back in January or February. I went it over again just for the fun and the humor of it.
Right.
Nice to know. Nice to know that you're going to be back, and nice to know that we ended on this note, and I don't even know what else to say as I close out here because my brains are all flustered with laughter this moment. But thank you again, and Jovan, thank you again, Mike, and thank you for the pleasure of your time. As together we work to build a better BVI, a better Caribbean, a better world. I'm Kathy Richards. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of The Big Story.
We know that where you choose to bank matters, and it is your vote on what your funds do in strengthening our community. As your official Bank of Paradise, we invest and support the lifeblood of our economy by helping in the realization of personal goals for homeownership, education, and entrepreneurial visions, which support small businesses. We make it our place to connect with persons and worthy causes, and we have been doing so for more than 30 years. Where your money goes and what your dollars empower are your choice. And we thank you for choosing us, a bank that gives where it matters the most, for you, for our community, and a happier tomorrow. The National Bank of the Virgin Islands.
Are you searching for new home decor items that reflect the season's latest trends? Look no further than Right Way Home. From cushion sets to decorative vases, we have unique pieces to suit every style and budget. Discover your right find at the right price, only at Right Way Home and Right Way Stores.